Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to show you guys how I do my Virgin Relaxer applications. And so here I'm just showing you all the things I'm using. I'm using Olaplex Straight Request for the brand of relaxer, a bowl, gloves, petroleum jelly is what I'm using for my base, a brush, a whisk, a comb for smoothing, a comb for detangling, and then clips for my sections. And so here I'm just mixing my Olaplex into the relaxer with a whisk. And this is my first time using Olaplex with a relaxer, and the results were really the results were really good. So I'm going to continue to do that. I just am mixing the Olaplex in, and this is her hair. This client is actually my aunt. So shout out to her for letting me record it. So she's been natural for a while now. She was getting her hair cut in like different styles. So her hair is shorter on the sides. The sides and the back are shorter than the middle and the front section, because of the way that she was getting it styled and cut. But she said she just couldn't take it no more, so she was ready to put that creamy crack back in her head. And you know, if that's what the client wants, that's what the client gets. So now I just have my gloves on and I'm going ahead and applying the base. I think that basing your relaxers are super important. I know sometimes we can get out of the habit of doing it, but I just don't want any of my clients to get any sores on their head that were caused by me. So I make sure I base all my clients. There was one time I had a client, it was actually my grandma, and she was like, every time she said that she never ever bases her head, and whenever I was basing it, the whole time she was saying how she never bases her scalp, and then whenever I did her relaxer without putting the base down, she got a sore in her head. And so I can't have people walking around with sores in their head and it being my work. So I will never not base a client ever again. So I know that they have different brands of relaxer bases, but the lady I'm doing my apprenticeship under, she told me that petroleum jelly is just as good as those. Sometimes that's all that those bases are. So I just use regular petroleum jelly. I got that from Dollar Tree. So if you didn't already know, now you know. And so just make sure that you apply it very thoroughly. Sometimes I go in and do it in cross sections just to make sure I got it all covered, but this time I just did it one way through, and it worked out good. The client never had any burning or anything like that. And whenever you're doing the forehead, just make sure that you go down far enough, because when you get those edges, you might come down farther on the head. So just make sure that you put it far enough down. So now I'm going through and applying the relaxer. And of course, we're starting an inch away from the scalp because we're saving the roots for last. So I'm doing the method I'm using is just I'm using the brush and then using my fingers as well, just to make sure that it's evenly distributed. And you just want to make sure you really saturate the hair with the relaxer, because we want the hair to be straight all the way through. I found that when people do their relaxers at home, it's really inconsistent. Like some areas are straighter than others, but we want it to be consistent all the way around. So I'm just going through and just making sure that I'm covering every inch of the hair. You know, it's always better to use too much product than too little. And I'm pretty sure this is sped up, yeah. But you do want to make sure your work is very thorough and careful, but you do kind of want to work quick with the relaxer, because it's really not supposed to be on their head. Like the first part you put it on, this one, it says that you shouldn't leave it on for more than 30 minutes. So you just want to make sure that you are moving at a good pace. So now I'm doing this back section, and I just did it in 4 sections. I feel like that's the standard practice. So yeah, so I'm just going through and applying it an inch away from the scalp. And then you see when I get to the back, where her hair is shorter, I just use my fingers to put it on, because the brush was too short to use the brush on. So whenever I got to the very back, I used just my fingers, and that worked out well.
I know that you like me, and it's kind of frightening. Standing here waiting, waiting, and I became hypnotized by freckles and bright eyes, tongue-tied. But now you're so far away and I'm down, feeling like a face in the crowd. I'm reaching for you, terrified.
So, now you're gonna see how I applied it to that back section with just my fingers. It was just really quickly, just like kind of picking at it. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and go to doing the roots. So whenever you're doing the roots, what's important, I would say, is to try as hard as you can not to get it directly on the scalp. I was watching a video about relaxers, and they were saying, you're relaxing the hair, not the scalp. And sometimes I feel like we can be careless and just go in that middle and just put it on both, slather it on both sides. And that can, that's what leads to scalp irritation. So if you can, as much as you can avoid it, it's kind of unavoidable to get it on the scalp, but not just directly applying it to it when it's not necessary. So you see how I'm getting close to the scalp, but try not to get it directly on there. So whenever you're doing relaxers, especially with the virgin ones, you want to make sure that you're taking your time and doing small sections. I could have taken smaller sections than I did here. But you just really want to make sure that you're taking small sections so that all your work is very precise and consistent. And while I'm doing this, I just want to talk a little bit about the hairstyling that you'll see at the end. So since her hair is in a very awkward phase right now, since her sides and back are going out from being shaved so much, but she wanted to retain as much length as she could because she wants to grow all of her hair out, so she didn't want to keep getting haircuts. So we're kind of going through a little bit of an awkward phase right now, with the hair in the back being shorter. So when we were trying to decide how we were going to do her hair, and I just straightened it and did some curls in it, but it didn't really look, because she didn't have a haircut, because she didn't have like a actual like hairstyle haircut, it kind of ended up looking weird, kind of like a mullet. And so I brought her back the next day so that we could do something different, and we ended up doing a perm rod set on her hair, and that turned out much better. So you'll see, so I'll show you in the end, I'll show you how her hair turned out the first time I did it, and then how it turned out whenever I did the perm rod set. But anyway, so I'm just going through this back section and making sure that I thoroughly get the roots. And after that, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the smoothing portion.
These days I'm restless, work days are endless. Look how you made me, but
And in a second or two, I get some relaxer on her ear. And I just want to let you know that I did wipe that off before it left a sore or scab or anything like that. Also, I did base her ears as well, because that's something that can really happen. So I made sure I put Vaseline on her ears as well to make sure that I didn't burn her ear. So now once everything is thoroughly saturated, I'm going to go ahead and start the smoothing. And the smoothing is one of the most important parts of a relaxer. That's the part where you make sure that you get it straight. So I just take the back end of like a rounded rat tail comb. Make sure it has that rounded head. And that's what I go in and smooth with. And once again, I could have taken smaller sections because you really want to be precise and stuff. But so I would advise taking smaller sections. But this relaxer still turned out really good. But I would have took smaller sections in hindsight. And then you see me there, I had put on some more relaxers. So if you're going through your relaxer and you feel like there's an area that you like could have saturated better, like don't second guess it. Go ahead and saturate it, because you don't want to regret that you didn't, because you can tell whenever you miss a spot in a relaxer. You can definitely tell. So if you have any questions about if you like, oh, I think I might need to put a little bit more here, then always do that. Always play it safe, because you don't want the relaxer to be inconsistent, and you don't want them to have to come back sooner because you didn't get as close as you could to the root, or because you missed a spot, and they feel like their hair isn't straight, so they feel like they need to get a relaxer every 2 weeks. Like you want to avoid that. You want to give them good results that last a good amount of time. So now I'm rinsing out the relaxer, and most of this footage is like blocked out by my body being in front of the camera, so I need to work on that. But I'm rinsing it out, and whenever you're rinsing out a relaxer, you want to be very thorough. This is something that is not rushed. You can't tell how long I was rinsing out, but I rinsed out the hair for a long time. I rinse it out till I don't see any more relaxer, or feel any more relaxer, and then that's when I go in with the shampoo. So here I'm using the Silk Elements Neutralizing Shampoo. And yes, you can mix Neutralizing Shampoo, because all Neutralizing Shampoo does the same thing. It brings the hair back down to the correct pH. And so any Neutralizing Shampoo can do that. So don't feel like you have to get the matching one to the brand. But anyway, I'm very thoroughly shampooing her hair, making sure there's no pink. I just really made sure that I really got everything out, like they're not leaving any chances. And you want to always make sure you get the back of the neck, because that's the part that is on the sink, and if you're not careful, you can really miss that area, and then you can have breakage along the back of their hairline. That's what an experienced stylist gave me that tip. So I just made sure that I got it all the way through, because I don't want no breakage on my hands. So after I did 2 washes with the neutralizing shampoo, and then I did 1 wash with a more hydrating shampoo. I believe I used the Defy Damage by Joico as the 3rd shampoo, just because I just wanted to use a more moisturizing shampoo, because after getting a relaxer and then the neutralizing shampoo, it could use like a little bit more moisture, but I still like to do 3 washes on a relaxer. Okay, and so now I'm combing in her deep conditioner. I forget the name of the brand, but all the products I have will be listed in the description bar down below. But I just made sure she went under the blow dryer, and let that deep conditioning treatment really sit and penetrate her hair, because we don't want her to have dry, relaxed hair that is prone to breakage. We want that nice, healthy, relaxed hair. So that heavily depends on deep conditioning. So you'll see me just putting a plastic cap on her, and then she sat under the dryer for 10 to 15 minutes. I don't really remember how long it was exactly, but her hair felt very nice and moisturized after she came back. And so then I just rinsed that out, and I believe we're just going to skip to the part where I start blow drying her hair. Her hair was very nice. It was a night and day difference in how it was before I relaxed it. So you see there, I'm using the new smooth leave-in conditioner, because I just want to make sure that I'm using moisturizing products in the hair, and I used the Dyson to blow dry it. And then now I'm trimming it. So I didn't give her a haircut, because like I said, she's trying to retain as much length as she could, but I did give her a pretty decent trim. It's something good to start with, so she doesn't have to be dealing with split ends while she's trying to grow out her hair, because that's the biggest menace to growing out your hair. And so here I am, just skipping to a little bit of me flat ironing the hair and giving it some curls. And I'm showing, you know, that sometimes things don't always go the way that you plan it. Even though I really put a lot of effort into this hairstyle, it just was not cute. Like, it was really giving old lady, and I did not want my aunt walking around like this. And you know, sometimes you can't, sometimes things just don't work out whenever you're doing hair, and it's better to fix the issue than leave it and then have your name on something that you don't really fully support. So I knew that I didn't want her to walk around like this, so I told her that she should come back so I could do her hair the next day, because it was pretty late that time. So you can see here, it just was really giving old lady. So I did some nice perm rods, and look at how juicy those perm rods are. And we gave her a nice little afro. You can't tell how uneven her hair is. It was just a nice little curly afro. And I used a lot of perm rods. So this was it before I separated it. And I did separate it some, but she didn't want me to separate it all the way because she wanted it to last a long time. And she said she would pick it out more whenever she, like the next morning after she just wanted it to last long. So she wanted the curls to stay intact. So we left them most of the way intact, but where she could still go out and wear it today. So those are the results. The relaxers turned out really good. She really loved her hair. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys the next video I have. Bye. Have a good one.